Hey everyone, welcome back to Dairy Raid, and today we're going to be looking at the offensive performance, or lack thereof, of the Badgers versus Ohio State. And we're just going to start with the first play of the game. Let's just get right into it. No need for a long intro. So the Badgers are going to come out in a 3-by-2 empty look, 12 personnel. Got Dylan Jones in the slot, going to motion, and we're going to run split flow, wide zone. But Ohio State's line movement kind of presents an issue for both our interior, and it makes it interesting for me to figure out where the read point is on this, even though, as we see throughout this game, Hunter Simmons is not involved in the run game. So I want to think that how this play ends up being blocked is incorrect based on who the quarterback is and what the scheme entails. Now, so with this, if we're in a situation where we're assuming that our guy out here is the read man, but Hunter Simmons is not a running threat, then let him. If this guy out here can chase down Dylan Jones from the back, we've got problems. But they do a smart thing on here where, okay, I am going to set the split flow to wall off the backside. So fair enough, he doesn't get there, but what I find interesting is we end up kind of bluffing here and then walling this guy out here. So maybe the split flow is supposed to come here, and we're supposed to get a wall kind of here, but it doesn't end up happening that way because Joe Brunner, as you can see, is a little bit too slow getting into his block here. So we end up basically creating as a wham situation without giving our running back, who is coming at speed because he's in motion, we're not giving enough space to operate. So let's take a look at here at speed. Motion, hit, so we can see Mason does a pretty good job of, well, not expecting to hit that guy, but he gets in there. Okay, Kadanko does a pretty good job. Renfro kind of gets displaced here a little bit, and kind of where his eyes are looking is he should be looking back instead of up or out. But because we don't get the cutoff here, and Lance Mason is not expecting to make this block, it's not going to be that secure. It ends up being, well, it turns out to be a short gain. It's kind of sets us up for the future of the little things that Ohio State's front did just by some of their subtle movements that really got the counts, if you want to see it that way, in the zone scheme to not set up correctly, and we ended up with some negative plays. All right, and I have been told that I have been too critical of the old school aspects of the Badgers offense this season. So let's look at something that's slightly positive. Is we run GT or GH lead out of I formation unbalanced, and we get 4 yards, which, with the way our run game's been going this season, will take. What ends up causing this play to hit now more than when we saw in the past is, one, there's a tight end here to begin with. So our corner out here has to respect it briefly. But as you can see, in comparison to, say, Iowa's corners, the reluctance to get into the run fit by some of these DBs, we end up getting some of that, numbers in the box, overwhelming at the point of attack, that this type of play needs. Okay, we're only end up having to block, really block 8. And so we end up getting the advantage. We'll look at it from the box and get some nice down blocks by Malman and Renfro. Kadanko gets out there. Him and Mason do a good job of getting a couple bodies on 26, get a good push there. At Grant Steck, I think this is a fantastic rep by Grant Steck. Even though he ends up on the ground, that is a tough footwork for him to get around. And does our fullback stay on his feet? Like to see him get his hands in there instead of throwing a shoulder, but credit where credit's due. It's an I formation play that hits relatively successfully. All right, next up we have a 3rd and 4 situation here. And this is one of the plays that I want to use to highlight the effect that not having a quarterback like Danny O'Neill is having on this offense. And there are plenty of you, including some very vocal members of my comment section, which, hey, you guys are watching and I applaud. I love the interaction. But these are the type of plays that having Danny O'Neill in, or a player of his type, is going to be a benefit. What we end up getting is a kind of basically it ends up being an inverted pin and pull read. Okay, and we've run this before where we've run either like a jet sweep or some kind of motion away from the action of the backfield or action of the offensive line, in which the quarterback would be the primary ball carrier on the front side of the formation. And when we look at how this ends up getting blocked, and in fact, we're just going to let this run so then we can look at it from the box angle so we can see this a little bit clearer. All right, so we're basically going to end up with like a naked side where we're just going to get our 2 wide zone blocks, and then we're going to get our fake kind of pop out to run the inside action of the pin and pull. And first things first, just by how the numbers here on the front side, we're not going to have enough blockers. It's 3 for 2. Okay, this should be seen pre-snap. Like, unless we're expecting this wham to pick up the linebacker, I think his angle is not going to allow for that motion. Okay, that's real tough for to come in here and then climb up to an inside backer. Okay, but now we look at the point of attack on the front side. We get our down blocks, and then we have a kick out here. And because nobody here, look at Ohio State's defense. None of them are looking at the quarterback. Everyone's looking at the running back. So, to which when we hand this off, he's got nothing but space to get outside. Would he gain a lot of yards? Probably not. But if you have a quarterback who has a willingness to keep the ball every now and then, and in situations where the defense is giving it to him, I think it's there. We get kind of some jumbled up down blocks, but we get bodies on the point of attack. And the point of attack is out here, not over here. Okay, this is the same situation that I spent all year last year complaining about Braden Locke. Is the offense was set up for the QB to be an integral part of the run game. And I think he flat out chose not to be. And right now, I think Hunter Simmons is choosing not to be, or they're telling him not to. Whatever. I don't care. Who is at fault? The fault is you are taking out one part of the run game. And by doing so, you allow everybody to focus on the ball carrier. Okay? And this is not Jonathan Taylor. This is not Melvin Gordon. He needs blocks. He needs defensive eyes to be focused on other places. And if you have a QB who is unwilling to be a part of the run game or is not part of the run game, then you can't call plays like this, because it's just you're trying to run a play that you're not putting all the right pieces out in place. So either smarter play calling or get a QB who is willing to be a part of a play like this where he's necessary. All right, next up we got a passing route. Take a looking at a 2nd and 10 situation with Hunter Simmons. Another one, again, where is this motion and play action essential to the development of this play? I don't necessarily think so, and I think it really slows down the progression about how this play is designed. And what I mean by that, so at the bottom of the screen, we're running switch release up the seam, and then it would probably, this Tretch's route is a vertical route, and then if he's capped, I think he's supposed to break down, most likely. Now, the problem with that is these two routes cannot be the last two routes in the progression because you're just pushing everything way too far downfield. So the way that I see this and how I would teach this is I would split this play in half. So we are either going to run the switch release with the bubble here and go one, let's get the telestrator out. So we would go 1 with the seam, 2 with the fade to the out or to the comeback, and then 3 to the bubble. Okay, you got your standard triangle read: high, low, and out, or high, low, and out, however you want to see it. Or you read this guy right here. Okay, on the back side, they're running curl flat. If you're going to read curl flat, then you can only read curl flat in this situation. Now, how it's aligned, if he wants to go to the flat, it's there if he decides quickly. So let's see how this gets set up. And so we read 1 to 2. Okay, are we reading 1 to 2? Yeah. Why aren't we going here? He's wide open. Wherever point his eyes are first, and it's hard to see, obviously, with the camera angle. Okay, regardless. Okay, you've got two guys standing right here. Just rip the ball out here. Okay, you're not going to get a ton of yards, but you're going to get past the line of scrimmage. Because you chose to go this way first, that's important. Okay, that's where you chose to go. It's a split field read. But because we don't take it, now we come back, and by this point, we're capped. We're capped on the seam, and honestly, I don't think Hunter Simmons has the arm strength to throw the ball from here to here without looping it too much to give this guy time to go back or throw it too much on the line and have this flat defender sag on it. Okay? It's a long throw. This is an NFL throw. He is not an NFL quarterback, and that's fine. But now we get through the progression way too late. Okay, and it's not a very good pass. I mean, it's a fine pass, but I think Dylan Jones ends up hurting himself on this, but he's not gaining any yards. We are in perfect position to make this tackle. He's down. We end up losing. I'm not counting that he lost yards because he was injured. But what I am saying is that by looking this way and not pulling the trigger, you've killed the read. You only give yourself, when you get through, and he had enough time to go through all 5 receivers in his progression. But by the time he gets to options 2 or 3 and 4, they're already too far downfield. If he wants to go here, then they need to be timed his drop. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and by this point, we've passed off here. We're on to here. If that's not there, now we throw. So we could get the ball in the hands here, get some momentum, and now we got open space. But because we wait, we get too wide. We let our flat defender track and get downfield because he doesn't have anything to worry about. It's better decision making at the beginning of the process so you don't have to rush through to get to the end. But more importantly, you can read the routes in the correct order and get the right structure of the routes. All right, next up is another example of, unfortunately, a trend that we have seen all year is just the complete lack of athletic ability that Joe Brunner has been showing. I don't know if there's injuries. I don't know. I really actually don't care. But this is basically blocked very similarly to how that first wide zone happened, and still we didn't get the nose. So let's look at this. Okay, so what we're going to get set up here is we're going to get two guys outside here. So Riley Mollman stepping down, sealing here. Joe Brunner should know he's not getting help here. He's not getting help. And because he's the backside guy, I'm not so much worried about getting him out here. He shouldn't be expecting Jake Renfro to help with this at all. And he just gets his weight way too far over his feet. And then we get the slant. He's in no man's land. So how would I set this up better? Again, it's how I teach my linemen how to block this type of play with the alignment of this defensive tackle right here. Is I'm telling them, get into him. So you're aiming across here, but you're working upfield instead of around, and that is going to help you in a situation where you have to block him. Okay, this is not a zone block anymore. This is a man block. So get that push into him, and we just get in such an unbalanced, unathletic position where we kind of negate. If Joe Brunner blocks this guy, we know Cade Yakimelli. He's got the quickness. He makes the cut right there. He's going to get some yards. But unfortunately, just another example of how Joe Brunner's lack of athletic ability is really coming back to haunt this offense this season. All right, another situation where I don't know if this is the greediness of the coaching staff telling him that it is all 17 yards or bust in this situation, or it's just unwillingness of our quarterback to pull the trigger. Okay, so we're going to get a 3-vert look here where we're going to get verts on the outsides. Okay, we're going to get up the seam, and then we're going to get a slight delay with a crosser coming underneath. Okay, so first things first, with how Ohio State is presenting their defense here, I'm going to wait for that window to open up. Already, just looking at the structure of the Ohio State defense. Okay, that's how I see it. Let's look at the progression we go through. Okay, so we go 1 to 2 to 3. Why? I mean, what does he see that's open out here? First thing, he's still capped. When he gets positioned to throw, there's contact. Decisions made to throw, there's contact. And, I mean, is he expecting to throw this ball 50 yards into the end zone? No, he shouldn't be. But again, let's go through the progression if we look down here. 1 to 2 to 3, okay? The time that he waits here, this is open. There's a lane. Let's look at it from the end zone angle, and unless his vision is completely obscured. Oh yeah, and by the way, it ends up how it is. But regardless, okay, let's look at how his eyes go. 1, 2, 3, doesn't like it. Why doesn't he like this? Climb right here. Okay, get to the top. Feeling antsy? Step up. Escape here. Or escape here. I mean, that's not going to be there. But he's just fixated. He gets through. He's already passed him. Like, he doesn't even give. And is it because we have to do the chip? If we don't have to, if he doesn't have the patience to wait for the chip, then we can't chip. But even so, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you're not giving him time to get into his route. Also, the spot that he needs to be thrown open, either this window, that's there. I don't get why. And again, no offense to Hunter Simmons. He's not making that throw regardless. And it just ends up being an ugly, ugly play. We're trying to do too much. Again, maybe we shouldn't be calling a vertical play where we need a chip on 3rd and 17 when we either can't protect it, can't get open, whatever. Don't care what your reasoning is. There's so many negatives with this type of play in this situation. But then if you're going to do it, you have to make smart decisions. And I don't think there was one smart decision on this play. All right, but not all of the negative plays in the passing game are the result of poor quarterback play. This is just bad receiver play by an experienced receiver. We're going to motion to the 3-by-1 to run the stalk and go off the screen, but we end up getting 2 players sitting there in the screen. And with this motion, I think you can pretty much guarantee that the person who screws this up is Vinny Anthony. Because what should probably have happened on this is, let's get back here. Get the pen out. All right. We're going to get the stalk and go. This is probably supposed to either be up the sideline here to create space behind, or we're going to work in to sit. Regardless, he's not running the screen. I mean, I think that's obvious. And we've got our running back out here. But what Vinny Anthony does, obviously, is when he runs this screen, the progression that he wants, he doesn't see the guys in the right spots. And I really think by how this is set up, there should be someone in here. And that's, again, probably supposed to be Vinny Anthony. And now he gets confused. Hunter Simmons, now there's 2 guys standing there where there shouldn't be. Vinny, get out of the way. Like, at what point in this are you going to realize you're wrong? And, I mean, all the power to him. We end up getting some yards out of it because he's a good athlete. But imagine if he, like, did what he was told to do. Because you can kind of see it here with the eyes that Hunter Simmons goes through. Progression, 1, 2, look up. Wait. There's somebody there who's not supposed to be. And, like, I know he likes his checkdowns, but we're not going to put 2 guys out there, are we? All right, last play here to prove my point about Hunter Simmons. Well, again, I think if he showed up at Wisconsin in 2015, he's probably a starter because he reminds me so much of QBs we had in the past who just don't cut it in terms of playmaking ability. So what we get here, we're going to get a 2-by-2. Okay, we're going to run a slot fade, smash concept top of the screen, and then we're going to run a curl and just a runaway route because there's no chance we're going to throw to a fullback off the sideline. Now, I like his progression here. Play action, 1, 2, not there. Okay? Put the ball right there. Nobody's going to get it. Nobody's going to get that except our tight end. Why? I don't get why. I don't get it. And I'm sorry, Daniel O'Neal's going to throw this ball. And I need a quarterback here. You know, people talk about holding on to the ball too long with with Daniel O'Neal and getting sacked. Okay, he's got all the time in the world, all the time in the world. The pressure that's created here is on him, and you guys can't see it here. You really can't, and it's unfortunate with how the camera angle is. But even with, with the banner here, you can't see. But when he checks off, let's see, right here. When he checks off, you can see his head. He's open. But more importantly, the space he's throwing it into, where he's got the vision, and he's already off. Okay? And like, I'm happy that he just threw it away there, but it's a wasted down. If we're not going to pull the trigger on these vertical plays when they're open, then they need to be taken out of the playbook, or at least out of the game plan. Like, honestly, if Wisconsin ran Ohio State's offensive game plan in this game, the game plan that Ohio State's offense used against our defense is about what we can expect from how we use a quarterback like this. And it's just such a wasted opportunity that we can't pull the trigger here. All right, we're into the fourth quarter now. And after taking a big sack, whether it's by injury or by design, Daniel O'Neal is in the game. So we come out, run play action. A lot of moving parts on this play. And I think if there's no collision at this spot, this is probably a completed pass. And what I want everyone to be paying attention to here is, and we'll see it better from the end zone angle. 1, 2, we get rid of it. He only has 2 options. Okay, maybe 3 if you include how the end around receiver is getting. But you get through the progression and you throw it what you have available. So we have 2 play action component. We got play action here. We got to turn all the way around because we still have to present to the end around. I like that he doesn't wait to give the handoff here because he knows he's not going to have time. So we set here. It's not there. Readjust. I mean, I think that's a good spot. And again, there's contact right there. And if anything, I'll say what Danny maybe is doing here is not anticipating how close these two are, that he's maybe leading a little bit too much when he can throw it maybe a little bit more down, okay, more towards his feet, which actually in a throw like that would be a better situation. But again, we saw from the end zone angle or from the wide angle, there was contact there. I think that's a good ball. It's just a little bit wide. But we pulled the trigger, got to the top of the route, pulled the trigger. There was no check down. He just got through it, and we took it from where it was. Okay, next up, again, another reason why I want the offense built around the skills of the QBs that we have is 3rd and 5 situation. This gives you a lot of options. So what you have here is QB draw. Okay, you have options. We have the bubble screen at the top of the screen, okay, and a naked bubble screen. I don't like this look because we are 3/2 with a linebacker here that, as you can see, is already dropping. And that's probably where the read is. That I don't like. I mean, we're not picking up both of these guys. So the draw is the right option. And I like it that we have a QB who's willing to get his nose dirty and pick up the yards. Hey, it's not blocked particularly great, even though there's some good individual efforts. Let's look at the box angle of the blocking. But we've already seen so far that, yeah, with Danny O'Neil, maybe we still have the same. Nice little trap by Joe Brunner here. And we're getting bodies downfield. Again, it's kind of chaotic. I like getting Atuka getting in there, getting nasty. But again, what I like about this, if we say that Hunter Simmons has a slight advantage in the passing game, I mean, I think the difference between a 78 and an 80 overall is, it's still a C. But because Danny is an asset in the run game, that brings the overall offense up a step. I am perfectly okay as a play caller to have someone who has some reckless tendencies, but then overall can give me more. And Danny O'Neil can give me more. And if you're not going to use Danny O'Neil, then you might as well use Carter Simmons. Because Carter Simmons is Carter Smith, excuse me. Carter Smith is a younger version of what we're going to get here with more upside in the passing game. And he's a fantastic athlete. So if you're not going to use the more experienced of the two, you got to have an offense that has some more dynamics. And a QB like that is going to give that to you. All right, last one here that we're going to take a look at is another example of this is a play that we ran earlier in the game with Hunter Simmons at quarterback, where when we see this action and we leave guys unblocked, they have to respect the quarterback. They didn't with Hunter Simmons. They do with Danny O'Neil. That allows us to get outside. Getting Atuka getting out there and blocking somebody. I wish I would have taken the time to get a couple of his runs on here, but I'm already starting a little bit over time where I wanted to be. But this is a good effort play by and Vinny Anthony, just getting it outside, but having that threat on the edge is important. If you're not going to use the threat, then the defense is not going to respect it. If they don't respect it, then you handcuff your offense. So it is what it is, in my opinion. All right, that is it for Wisconsin versus Ohio State. Just when the offense gets vanilla, this offense is going to suffer. And I think we are getting too vanilla. I'm not talking about motions and shifts. And I've been saying all year that there have been problems with the offense trying too hard. Well, we don't have to. This is not trying too hard. This is not trying enough. So you've got to find the right balance. You take so much out of the playbook to simplify things, but you don't add in the components that are going to make everything work together as a system. Right now, it's a collection of plays. And because you changed the dynamic that you had set forth with the offense going into the season, and now you're taking a major component away from it. So it's got to improve. And with the rumblings we're hearing, maybe we see some more young guys getting in there on offense. Maybe we're going to see Carter Smith at some point. I hope we don't throw him to the wolves against Oregon, but who knows? Something's got to give, and it can't continue like this. I mean, the 34 points on the board for the defense is as much to do with how bad the offense plays as it did the defense. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Next time, we'll talk about the Badgers' defense and how they fared against Ohio State. So, as always, thank you for watching. See you then.